Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justice, and today I'm going to be delving headfirst back into the Total Drama universe and ranking all of the Total Drama Halloween specials. The Total Drama franchise consists of two separate spin-offs, a reboot, and of course multiple fan animated projects, one of which is Disventure Camp, which I actually did the same ranking for a couple months back now, so a little shameless self-promo right there.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm not.
The original Total Drama started back in 2007 and is a parody of the TV series Survivor. It follows 22 campers who all go to an island and split up into two teams, and then they are forced to do challenges, and the losing team has to vote off one of the members each episode. So very much a Survivor style show, and I have mentioned this across other videos before as well. This is one of my all-time favorite series. It's very much a comfort show for me. Goddamn nostalgia, if you know what I mean. But anyways, we're just gonna jump into this ranking. We got 8 things to go over today, so let's just hop right on in. Coming in 8th place is Season 6's Total Drama Pakatu Islands, Episode 9, Hurl and Go Seek. In this episode, we have our merged finalists eating Juggy Chunks, extremely expired Juggy Chunks, and it turns into them all getting sick and having to play a game of hide and seek, a really gross out game of hide and seek because they're puking all over the place. This is something that I've never really been a big fan of in the Total Drama franchise, is these really gross out episodes. I'm not a big fan of gross out humor in the first place. And then to top it off, the reason this episode lands so low onto the list is because there just isn't much there for me to enjoy. Pakatu Island itself is a very lackluster season, and this episode is no exception to that. It's in fact one of the worst episodes of said season. At this point, Total Drama had ran out of ideas. Its new cast of characters was very gimmicky, and the characters were more or less just a parody of pop culture than they were a parody of teen stereotypes, so it didn't work the way that it typically does. To top it all off, too, this is a very Dave and Sky relationship-centric episode, and I never really was a fan of their relationship storyline. I will admit that I find it kind of fascinating that we had a very toxic relationship and the ship done in the same season. Usually they wait a season or two to burn down a whole relationship, but the fact that they just automatically did it here, I think is a cool change up enough, but still they're fairly boring characters that I don't really care much about. And the whole thing too, for it being a horror episode, is after everybody gets sick, they turn into zombies essentially, and we have Sean in this episode who is obsessed with zombies and believes that they are real, and this confirms it when no, they just have food poisoning. It's just not very funny overall, and it's just not that great of an episode. There's nothing else to it. Coming up next on the list, though, is going to be Season 2 Total Drama Actions, Episode 9, The Sandwich Project. And this episode is one of what I would consider 2 different horror episodes in that season. This one has multiple different aspects of the genre in it. We're seeing like the slasher genre, we see the ghost movie in it, but neither one's really done to great effect. Again, the Total Drama Action isn't really a season that I enjoy. I think it's a lot of good ideas, but they're very half-baked and they don't really go anywhere. In fact, I would love to see a remake for Total Drama Action, because I genuinely feel like there is a great idea to have challenges centered around movie genres and subgenres. I think that's really fun, but a lot of times it just doesn't work because the drama and like the storylines between the characters isn't there, and it's nowhere near as entertaining as it is in other seasons. Furthermore, too, the fact that this is a slasher movie episode, the first season had an episode directly inspired by Scream and slasher movies. It makes it really hard for me not to compare this episode to that one, and we will get into that episode later, don't you worry. But overall, I just don't think this episode stacks up well to it, and that's why it lands so far down the list. taking our 6th slot is going to be Revenge of the Island, Episode 4, Finders Creepers. This episode takes place only mere moments after the last elimination of the previous episode, and we are picking up with a lot of the love triangle storylines between Mike, Zoe, and Anne Maria, especially with Anne Maria, who discovers that Mal has an alternate personality, the said alternate personality being Vito, which makes Zoe very jealous. It's a subplot that I've enjoyed in the series, but as you can see, this episode does rank fairly low on the list. I don't dislike this episode by any means. There's a lot of character interactions in this one I do like. I think its biggest sin is the fact that this is one of the very few episodes that Dawn is in, but she has hardly any screen time in it. But one thing that is really fun about this episode is you have a callback to a previous character in the series, Izzy, who is in this giant spider costume and is the one that essentially is taking and kidnapping all the campers in the challenge that they're trying to avoid getting caught by while they're doing this scavenger hunt. Not only that, you get to also see the pair up again of Izzy having her little showdown with Chef Hatchet, and yes, that is going to come up again in a future episode on this ranking, so no worries on that department. But overall, this is a fairly solid episode. I feel more positively towards this episode versus the aforementioned last 2 episodes, but still, out of all the ones we have here, it isn't my favorite, and I just think the ones that are above it on this list are better in other aspects. But going up next on the list, and in the 5th place, is ironically Season 5, Episode 5's Moon Madness. So 555, I genuinely did not plan that. But this episode, it follows our campers who are doing a challenge at night when the blue moon comes out and all of the wildlife on the island start acting the opposite of how they normally would. So bears have become cuddly friends, and then you have bunny rabbits who are vicious little murderers. I very much enjoyed this episode. I think it's a really fun one. It's one of the stronger episodes from All Stars, and I know people have a lot of smack to say about All Stars. Personally, I think this episode's pretty solid across the board, though. I might be biased because I am an All Stars defender at the end of the day, but I love seeing the interactions between Heather and Alejandro. Heather running around affected by the moon and being sickeningly nice versus her normal cunty self is admittedly really fun. It's even more fun when you eventually find out that she just pretended to be nice so that she could get in Alejandro's head and pretended the moon had affected her. I think that's just super suiting to her character. I think Scott in this episode, it's one of his better comedic relief episodes. I think he's really funny in this one as well. I also think that having Courtney and Gwen come back together as friends in this episode and Courtney becoming more trusting of Gwen in this one is a fun inclusion as well. They ruin it later in the season, but we're not talking about that right now. We're just talking about this episode by itself. But overall, I think the humor in this episode is really good, and many of the characters just have a lot of points where they can shine, and that's something that I'm looking for in this ranking overall, is if my favorite characters are getting a chance to shine and how funny I find it, and I do think this is one of the funnier episodes even on this list. But coming up next, and this one's going to be jumping off track a little bit to something different, we are going to be talking about the Redonkulous Race, and it's episode 7's A Tiscuit, a Casket, I'm Gonna Blow a Gasket. And the Redonkulous Race is one of the spin-offs of Total Drama. It only ever got 1 season, which is unfortunate because the 1 season we did get was extremely strong. Unlike the Total Drama franchise, rather than it being a parody of Survivor, the Redonkulous Race is a parody of The Amazing Race. So you're following all these teams of 2 that are racing around the world who are trying to reach all these different finish lines, complete these different challenges with the goal of not being in last place, because if you are in last place, you are more than likely getting eliminated from the race. You don't really see characters shining that much outside of their group. They really only interact with their partner, but this episode, I feel like I just had to put it up higher because you literally have the goths, which are easily like S tier characters for me, and they're in Transylvania and geeking out over the fact that they are seeing Dracula's castle and that they get to experience all these different things of Dracula's. I just think it's really fun, and it just made my little edgy heart happy.
Modern coffins are so flimsy.
When I die, I want to be buried in one that was made during the plague. They really knew how to make a coffin last.
On top of it too, you have the fashion vloggers, which is another team that is one of my all-time favorites in this season. They have a lot of moments to shine here, especially since this is the episode where they get eliminated, and I just really love seeing their dynamic. I think both Jen and Tom are a really cute like bestie group, and being older is realizing that Tom is so painfully queer coded, and it makes me so happy, and I wish that we would have gotten an out Tom, but I will digress on that for now. But overall, this is just a fairly strong episode. There really isn't much else I can say about it, because the main thing I liked about it at the end of the day was the fashion vloggers and the goths, because I feel like they were the main thing that shined in this episode. But other than that, yeah, no, it's just a really good episode, and that's why it's so high on the list. We can mostly thank the goths for that though. Coming in third place, and perhaps controversially because it's a classic, is Total Drama Islands, episode 19, Hook, Line, and Screamer. And in this episode, Chris and Chef are nowhere to be found on the island, so the campers watch a horror movie about an escaped chainsaw psycho killer with a hook who lives in the woods. And as the night progresses, the campers start disappearing one by said psycho killer with a hook, only to find out that it was a challenge done by Chris all along. This episode is the one I was talking about, where I feel like the Total Drama Action episode, The Sandwich Project, was trying to be, or even like referencing a bit, because this episode is an extremely slasher-centric episode, and everything it does here outshines that action episode by leagues and leagues. All the characters have really fun moments to shine. The entire episode is very much a parody of Scream. You even have a character like Gwen, who is very clearly Randy Meeks in this episode, and she is giving everybody the rules of how to survive a slasher movie, and just getting more and more frustrated that all of her friends and the other campers aren't listening to her dropping the cold hard facts. But Gwen, I fear you forgot that all of your castmates in the show are very stupid teen stereotypes at the end of the day. You have a lot of really fun sequences in this episode. You have a lot of really cool little references to other horror movies. Even in Heather's scene, you have them doing an homage to the shower scene in Psycho. I thought that was a really fun inclusion. And overall, the humor in this one is really great. There is a lot of really memorable lines in it, and it is definitely one of the high points in Total Drama Islands episodes. The only reason that it ranks in third place for me is because at the end of the day, the next two things on the list I just enjoy a little bit more than this one. So again, it might be controversial that this one's in third place, but that's where it's landing at on my list, and this is my list at the end of the day. Coming up next, and this is the second Total Drama Action episode that I said I had to talk about, and it is episode 2, Alien Resurrection. And nowhere I've looked have they mentioned this as a Halloween episode, so I'm cheating, I guess, putting it on here, but I very much consider it one, especially since the entire episode is a parody of the movie Alien, so I feel like it's pretty fitting to being on this list. But the main reason that I have this one so high is because in this episode I feel like the ensemble cast is used so perfectly, and everybody gets their own little funny moments and quirky moments to shine throughout the entire episode. I have a lot of fun with these early plot lines in Total Drama Action. I don't think they really go anywhere or work overall by the end of it, but I still have fun with what they initially set up originally. I really enjoy the Gwen and Trent relationship before it all goes down the drain within the next couple episodes. I think here they're an extremely cute and shippable couple. The whole scene of Izzy fighting Chef while he's in the alien costume is yet again another really fun scene, and I just love all their little showdown moments, and this one like takes the cake for a good one, and it's way better than the Finders Creepers episodes like come down scene for the two of them. So overall, I don't know how controversial it is to have this episode here in second place of all places, but I really enjoy it even with all the flaws of Total Drama Action. I think this is an extremely solid episode, and even one of the better ones in the entire series. Coming in at first place, and one of the all-time best episodes in my opinion, I will die on this hill, is Total Drama World Tours episode 13, I See London. In this episode, we have our campers in London, obviously, given the name, I guess. While they're in London, they are slowly picked off one by one by Jack the Ripper, and the whole goal of the episode is to uncover clues to figure out who Jack the Ripper is, to catch him, and whoever doesn't catch him will be the one that has to send somebody home. This episode has a lot going for it, especially since it does like the big plot twist and like the big startup of the Courtney, Gwen, and Duncan love triangle, a huge part of the drama in season 3. And yes, I know it's a huge controversy in the fan base, but I kind of love this plot line. I don't really ship Gwen and Duncan together as a couple, but I loved the drama that comes with it. And at the end of the day, the series is called Total Drama, and in Courtney's words, not total friendship. Again, too, though, aside from that plot line coming to a fruition in this episode, we have a lot of fun with the slasher element yet again, as the characters are getting picked off one by one. And again, a lot of things I can say about that last episode I can say about this one as well. All the characters have a lot of really fun moments to shine. I really love the scene of Gwen and Courtney getting one over on Heather as they have her in like the medieval torture device. I enjoy the whole scene of Sierra and Cody running around with each other. And then I know a lot of people have problems with Duncan's inclusion back in the game, because at the end of the day, the team Chris is really hot should have won the challenge, because they found Jack the Ripper, unmasked him like Scooby-Doo and everything. But because Team Amazon found Duncan, Chris decided to be his good old Chris self and had the Amazons win the challenge. And I know people have problems with that, but Chris isn't fair. Chris sucks. Chris is a douchebag. Like, do you guys expect anything less from Chris at the end of the day? Like, let's be honest here, guys. This is just something that I feel like is a clear reason why I love Total Drama World Tour so much. Just seeing them visit these different places and all the different sets that they have for the characters to go through. The musical aspect is really fun. I also think it's kind of hilarious that the song had to be toned down from the original cut because it was deemed too adult for a kids show. But alas, that's something that happens with a lot of Total Drama things, so I won't even go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, for like all of those reasons, that's why this episode lands at first place, because there really isn't anything negative that I myself am able to say about it. But anyways, you guys should let me know what you think of the Total Drama Halloween episodes, and you should let me know what your ranking for them would be down in the comments below. I would love to hear them. I would have covered an episode from the reboot, but I just don't really think there's a genuine horror or Halloween episode of the reboot. Like, yes, in the first season they have the whole episode where they're in the caves and there's the giant spider, but I just don't get like the overall horror vibes that it's trying to go for, or wasn't going for, honestly. And all these episodes that I covered, I feel like are very much like the Halloween and horror themed ones, and that one very much is not. And if I did put it on this list, it would have been up there because Julia is an icon and she's an icon in that episode. But again, I just don't really think it works as a horror episode, which is sad because can you imagine Scary Girl in a horror themed episode? Like, that's just, we need that. We need that in our life, just saying. And this is probably the end of me talking about the Total Drama franchise on this channel, since this is really just a horror themed channel. In the future, maybe I'll do a ranking for the Total Drama Rama Halloween episodes, but I haven't seen them, and honestly, I've hardly watched any of Total Drama Rama because it's the baby show, and we can burn that with fire. I don't understand why that spinoff got made, but we'll move on from that. So if I end up making that episode, you guys know that I really, really hate myself and that I kind of like you guys. So we'll just throw that out there now, I guess. But anyways, if you guys are new to the channel and you want more content in the future, just like this, then I'd love if you hit that subscribe button. I cover everything and anything horror on this channel. But with that, this is Justice, and I really hope to catch you guys on the next one. Take care.